Okay, so a new day in Portugal. It was a lovely sunny day yesterday, but it's a bit misty at the moment this morning. We had a big problem last night. Today I meant to be starting the kitchen, but our back door literally fell off its hinge. You can see there, it's like it was welded on and it's broken off. So now the back door won't shut. The top is slightly different as it's welded to the frame of the door. The way this is constructed is a bit worrying because we cannot lift the door up because there's no gap above it. There's also this metal door frame which goes around the door. This is nothing really above there. If you look on from the other side, it's hollow. But the door frame is in place. And the wall above is supported by a piece of wood, so it's quite difficult. I think what we're going to have to do is somehow try and cut this weld off. I think I've got a grinding disc. I have to grind it off, take this door out, and then we have got some spare old wooden doors. Looking at fitting a wooden door in place temporarily, well, for maybe a couple of years, because when we rebuild the kitchen on the inside, we were going to replace this door anyway with like a UPVC door and make that a double bricked wall along there around the door frame. So I'm going to see if I've got a cutting disc to cut that off. So after getting my saw ready, I've realised now I've hit that and this pin has come up. So it should just be a case of levering out this pin and the door should fall off its hinge. I was getting a bit worried about the cutter because the only saw I had was soft wood and soft metal, so that was never going to cut through that weld. So luckily, a bit of time thinking about it while I was looking at the saw. Just got to get that pin out now. Okay, managed to bash up that pin. Oh, it's out. Hopefully now this door should just come straight off its hinge. Obviously it's not joined at the bottom at all. Let's have a go at manoeuvring that. Success. One very heavy door off of its hinges. I'll now go and find the wooden door and see if it's going to fit. Okay, so in the shed I've got two doors. One's even got a working lock, but it has got severe woodworm. It's all crumbled down one strip. The other door has a bit of woodworm, not a lot. Like I say, it's a temporary door, even though it's temporary for a couple of years. So that's the one that seems a lot stronger. I'm going to go and take that down to the doorway now, see if it fits and what we can do with it. Okay, it doesn't quite fit. It's a bit short, but I think I can patch that up. Like I said, I'm going to keep that metal frame because it is sort of holding the building together, maybe even. But I think if I get some wood for some hinges, a handle and a lock, we'll turn it around, clean it up a bit, paint it up a bit. Hopefully it'll do the job. So I was going to have another good look at the door. So there's a look at the back of the door. Obviously it needs a bit of cleaning up. But yeah, it's pretty sturdy. Pretty old, I suppose. Just going to try and give it a bit of a clean and look at how we can fit this. Going to obviously go down and get some hinges and door handles and things. We found the key for the old lock, but it was very stiff, and we had a new lock anyway. We were going to fit on the front door, but we couldn't. So I managed to put that in place. I had to turn this around so it pointed a different direction, which means the handle turned the other way around, but it still works okay. Plus it's got new keys and it's going to work okay. I had to drill through. The hole's a bit rough. Going to fill that in with wood filler. What we're going to do now is clean the door up. So we're hoping to hinge it from this wall, and then it should lock behind this metal frame that went round the metal door. At the moment everything's fitting. These old hinges might slightly be in the way. I'm going to just give them a little nudge with a sledgehammer and try and move them slightly offline. So those hinges responded quite well to a little sledgehammer treatment. So look at the door, it's quite messy and stained and marked and dirty. There's this gap around there. So what I've got some sandpaper, sander, and I've got this wood filler I used before. So I'm going to roughly fill that around there for now and go over the whole door with sander and just try and tidy it all up a bit. And then nip downtown and get some big hinges so we can try and hang it to the wall next. Okay, so given the outside of a door a light sanding with 40 and 80 grit sandpaper. It's come up quite well. Just going to start at the back of the door now. It's very dusty and cobwebby, and going to give it a quick sweep and then sand that over as well. We're going to be painting it, so this is really just preparing it for paint. So I sanded the back of the door down to 80 grit. I'm going to go over it all again with a slightly finer one. Pretty much all the marks come out. So hopefully it will paint really well once we get to paint it. We've worked out how we're going to hang it. We're going to put two sort of drop hinges. So to make the hinge fit, I've had to just chisel it all out a bit more. So the actual hinge that lifts off will fit in there. So I've just took it back. I'm going to try that out. Okay, day 2. Day 1 ended in a lot of swearing, putting the hinges on the wall, but managed to get it done, and there's the door hanging. Obviously it doesn't quite fit. I've got to pad it all out today, and a few problems with the lock, but managed to get that on. So today I'm going to tidy this up, fill in around it, and then we're going to paint it. That's the door on the inside. You can see I've had to patch up the lock around it, but managed to get the lock to go behind the frame, which is good. I'm going to fill in a big gap across the top here, and then look at somehow putting a little bit on the bottom and draft proofing it. So I've made this little panel to go on top of the door. Hopefully fit in. I'm going to fix it now on the front, and then I'll fix it from behind as well. But that fills the door in nicely to near enough to the top. So I'll just put a few screws in that and attach it. Okay, so that's gone on there. I'm going to fill in all the screw holes with a bit of wood filler. One thing I did have to do is cut an angle here. I didn't think about that, but when the door opens, it needed to have an angle to push it away from the wall. So it opens at, I don't know, 85 degrees now, but that at least works. And it's pretty much filled that gap in there. I do need to do something to the bottom. There's a gap at the bottom. But first of all, I'm going to fix that on the other side. So on the edge of the door, I've added a lip, like an edge all the way down. Had some of this extremely thin wood in the shed, so a bit more filler on that. Obviously the lock's a bit of a mess around there. Got to tidy that up. But what it does do is when the door shuts now, it gives it like a seal almost to that area, the frame area. So what we're thinking, we can put a draft excluder, stick it around the frame, and that will butt up against there and give us a bit of a draft exclusion. Not a massive, perfect draft exclusion, but better than nothing. So I've added in another section of wood across the top, which it butts up against here to give it a draft proofing. What we're going to do is put a layer of draft proof around it. So I've sanded the door all over. We're pretty pleased with it now. Fits pretty well. It is slightly warped out at the bottom here, but we're going to put a bolt in the bottom as well, so when we shut it at night we can bolt over the door, make it a bit more airtight. Well, not airtight, but more insulated. We're going to put a layer of sort of undercoat on. We are going to paint it blue on the outside. Got this white paint that we had for the plunge pool outdoor paint. Put that on, and then we've got some blue extreme weather metal and wood paint, so that should do the job. So we'll start painting in a sec. Just finished sanding everything off. Hopefully the paint will go on well. So yeah, the door's painted up, like we give it a dusting off, painted up nicely with its first coat of this extreme white paint. Two spectators here. One's already got a dot of white paint on her, and they immediately attracted to running through the house and past the door, as we knew they would be. So there's the door painted with its first coat of paint. Look on the inside. Tiny bit of a run there, but nothing much.
Where?
Sort that out. See, it's a beautiful day here. It's about 18, so hopefully it's going to dry out pretty quick. But we're not going to paint it again till tomorrow. So second coat of paint on the door. Looks a lot better. Maybe need a third coat yet, but looking really nice. And we might have changed our mind. We might decide to keep it white. But one more coat on that should hopefully finish that off. And it did work quite well last night. It stopped some of the drafts coming in, so that was good. So we're giving the door a third coat of paint, and looking really good. So it's quite a rainy, cold day in Portugal, but it's still about 14, so it should dry pretty quickly. And then we're going to put the handles and bolts and some draft excluder around it. The draft excluder we put at the bottom looks really good, and it is working really well. Probably keeping about 80-90% of the drafts out. So we've refitted the old handle we found. The door looks really nice. And on the inside, we've got this super modern handle. So now, give it a full shut. It's got draft proofing around the door. Stuck that on. So yeah, it's really good, really working well. So disaster over. We've got a back door again. It's nice to recycle this, okay, a little bit woodwormed door, turn it into a usable back door. The other one, firewood. So we've been doing this while we've been fitting the new kitchen. So probably quite soon there'll be another video coming out of the new kitchen. And once again, thanks for liking, watching, subscribing all our videos. The support really is appreciated, especially from Wendy, covered in paint.